maybe this leads us into this. This is the main topic that everybody came on for. It's the modern male identity crisis. So we're being gaslit. Basically, they want you to be vulnerable, but not weak. Yeah. They want you successful, but you can't be threatening, or, feminist enough, but still a little bit masculine, or, emotional, but not needy. This is what women say they want in men. Watch who they're fucking, not who they're saying they like. You understand? Oh, modern men are basically given kind of like a GPS with 4 different destinations that you're supposed to take. And then you get shamed for being lost somehow when they tell you to go in 10 different directions. Makes no sense. And then when they tell you to do all this, all of a sudden you're too soft of a man, you're too much of a nice guy, but you don't make enough money, but, the Disney happily ever after is not for me. I got railed by Chad and Tyrone, and I got left a single mother, and you're going to bail me out because you're so nice. Makes 0 sense, right? So when you get into it more from the social messaging in society as a whole, you are told to be weak, right? Express your emotions. Toxic masculinity makes you bottle everything up inside, Don't man up, but also man up when we need you to be a man. So when a woman is assaulted in public by some fucking drug addict fent zombie, you got to step in and sacrifice yourself. And how am I supposed to do that, sis, if I'm vulnerable and weak like you? And I like to cry because that's strength. Makes no sense. Yeah. Cry, but not like that. And if you cry, by the way, I'll never look at you the same, and we'll divorce you or leave you, or, any of that shit. We've seen how many times they say, open up, be emotional. And the moment she sees you crying and shit, it's game over. Went from the Niagara Falls to a fucking Sahara Desert immediately, right? So be vulnerable with me, but also somehow my rock, as if it makes any fucking sense whatsoever. Dating culture punishes this duality that they make you live, because in order to succeed in dating culture, you have to be hyper masculine, which is literally the opposite of everything they tell you to be, right? One crying session, literally, guys, one, I'm not fucking kidding, one is dried pussy forever. And then you have to get into success, right? You want an ambitious man, but don't be a toxic workaholic, bro. Don't be so fucking competitive at work. Stop giving your life to your job. Nobody else can compete with you. That's toxic masculinity. Let us be, let us get in on some of the action too, right? Okay. Also, provide for the family, yeah? But you don't have agency in dealing out the consequences in the rules, right? You're a patriarchal oppressor, bro. Also provide for this family. But don't tell us what to do, how to behave, standards and rules that must be abided by. No, you can't do that.
Accent $4.99. Lil Theory, migrants moved to Europe/USA to free up land for Greater Small Hats land. Empty up Middle East for new Israel emoji, empire, and take rare earth mines.
Interesting conspiracy theory you got there. Interesting. Anyways, we'll go back to the main talk. Appreciate the conspiracy theory, by the way. Very interesting stuff happening in the world. So it's good to hear, a wide variety of angles in thinking. May agree with them, may not agree. Anywho, so then apart from the family, they teach you to be a leader, right? You must lead consistently, confidently. But also, guys, tell me in the chat, have you ever heard, check your privilege, bro? You're a man. Check your fucking privilege. But hey, you're not a real man. You don't know how to lead. You got to win at fucking work, but lose at home. Makes no sense. And if you do become successful, it's shameful if you're a man, because, it's toxic masculinity. You should be a bitch staying at home, right? Ambition is a problem when it's masculine, though. But when you're a woman, it's a boss babe mentality. It's great. No worries whatsoever. Okay. Apart from that bullshit, now we get into, let's just say, relationships. Fine. Okay. So we went into this one in depth last episode, the last stream. They want you to be equals with a woman in a relationship. How? But also be the man. Explain that.
Isaac sent $5. I had a friend tell me that money doesn't buy happiness. I told her, yeah, but it solves all the problems that comes with not having money.
Yeah, I agree. So, okay, we're equal, but also you're a man. We share everything, but also handle your fucking shit, bro. You got to ask for consent for things, but also why don't you take charge for once in your life? You're not a real man. You get mixed signals constantly. There's no consistent rule book that you're supposed to follow. It's all very vague, and they do this on purpose for confusion and power. And failure is often guaranteed somewhere in your relationship or your marriage because of this, right? Modern masculinity is like playing Simon Says, where Simon has multiple personality disorders. It makes no sense. This is why men are checking out and they don't play the game at all. So, where's this? What is the source for all this confusion? Well, you have multiple competing authorities. For example, traditional messaging for the father and grandfather. What are they? The traditional man was strong, silent types, and that's considered ideal. They held their provider protector role. They were emotionally restrained, and that shit was actually valued. You would hear things growing up. I don't know if they teach young boys this anymore, but men don't cry. Stiff upper lip. You take care of your family. You're the rock for your family. You guys remember that? Some of the younger guys in the chat, if you're here, actually that's considered toxic masculinity today, because the progressive messaging from media and education, especially school, is that toxic masculinity is everywhere, that traditional roles are actually oppressive, and that you must be some form of a feminist ally because, you're told masculinity is toxic or harmful in some sense, and you have some sort of privilege endowed by birth because you have a penis in between your legs, and you must center a woman's voice, whatever that even fucking means. They don't know what it means. They can't even decide what fucking breakfast to eat or what dress to wear and what shoes to put on. And you're supposed to center their fucking voices. No sense. These people, literally, they don't know what gender they are. And you're supposed to center their messaging for them. Please, bro. Then you have the reality is it falls apart with the biological messaging, right? We have instincts, we have hormones as men and women. We'd like to compete and dominate. We'd like to protect territory. We want to pursue. We want to provide, right? Testosterone flows in our veins. We demand action, an action-oriented life. Competition feels normal for us. Even when you do something as like far removed from masculinity as possible, like gaming, where your mind is in a fake world, where does a man go? Competition. Sweaty ass fucking matches down to the last wire and shit. Where dudes are fucking, they're putting in heavy work. It's like they're playing like clan matches and shit, team games, and they still get sweaty. You're playing a game, but it got sweaty because men are naturally competitive. Not all men are just logging in with their feet kicked up, just dicking around. Even something considered a game is taken at a competitive level by men. It's natural to be this way. Hierarchy, it makes sense for us. We form little hierarchies. Who's the best at what? And then they take the lead. And if this guy's the best at this, he takes the lead. And in general, we form a little hierarchy where we know who's at the top, who's at the bottom, but we still respect each other in our hierarchy. Women don't have that. They're by consensus. They form their hierarchy based on, who agrees most with the group, which is why they're so agreeable, because being kicked out of the group is instant death for them. A man being kicked out of a group doesn't matter. He'll go find his own or go, his own way.
Ivy Intia sent $4.99. I got both. Can't even cry alone. Be soft coming from the girl bent over by someone who isn't. Y'all are hilarious.
Thank you, brother. I stopped playing games.
$4.99. Everything you've said is true. I've asked female law students what man/life they want. They want to work but have the man make more than them. GTFO.
Yeah, again, it makes no sense. So, and that's the problem. We have a vacuum with all the information because every source contradicts the other. We don't have a coherent model for men to follow, but women do. Like, when you see the trajectory of what it means to be a strong, independent boss babe today, they have a clear trajectory of what they need to do. And often the state is helping them, helping them through school and grants and loans and shit like that. And then corporations through DEI and all that other bullshit. They have plenty of help and support from society. Men are lacking all this, right? So we don't have a coherent model for men and what is a man today. And you have to essentially, it's almost like picking your poison, right? If you follow your dad, if you even have one, it's outdated. That's old school toxic masculinity. If you follow culture you're going to get emasculated. You become a feminine bitch. And if you follow your instincts, your drives as a man, that's toxic. So you can't do anything. You get punished from all sides. Traditional means a fucking caveman. You're a progressive soy boy bitch. If you're balanced, now you're considered a fence sitter, right? There's no winning position. This is why men are just checking out of the game completely. And I keep repeating that because that's the only game to play or the only winning move for the average guy who has no way out. He's surrounded on all sides. So he goes, cool, put the controller down. I'm done. Yeah. Right. You got paralysis or rebellion. That's it. That's it. That's basically your only move is to be invisible. And that's the goal of society. That's how they're working to cuck you. Right. And then we have the expertise problem. It's like, how do you fix all this shit? The experts are mostly female. And then male experience is dismissed. The red pill is perfect of this. The red pill is considered extremist ideology, toxic, misogynist circles, the manosphere. When men teach men with experience, that shit is toxic. But when you got dating coaches that are female telling men how a fish is telling you how the fish should be caught, isn't that rich? And guys literally believe and will pay for female dating coaches who think they're going to get the correct information on how to catch the fish. Stupid. It's never made any sense. You want to learn to be a player, you ask a pimp. You want to know how to catch bitches, you ask the hoes. That's where you get your real game from. Guys are over here asking like they're the crushes, like, what kind of girl are you into? What's your perfect man? Excuse me, what's your perfect man? And she's going to name some dude that he thinks is going to be him. I want a guy to just treat me right and, he respects me and like it's kind of funny. And the guy's thinking like, yeah, that's me. That sounds exactly like me. Why doesn't she see me? Because you're fucking ugly. Because the asterisk at the beginning of that is he's hot. He's strong, masculine, toxic as fuck. He doesn't care about me. Yeah, shit like that. That's what it is, right? So we're probably, well, we could say what? We live in a world of theories. Hardly any practitioners today. So, most therapists don't understand this problem. The academics never lived it. They just read books and theorize on male-female relationships, and the media profits over this kind of confusion too. So we're the first generation of men raised by women and taught masculinity is toxic. And then they wonder why we're lost. No surprise, guys. And so you get workplace confusion too. For example, there's like leadership expectations, right? You're supposed to take charge, but also collaborate. And they want you to be decisive at work, but also somehow inclusive and not hurt any feelings and, drive results, but care about feelings, right? How does that make any sense? So the old rules get you fired if you're in that competitive workplace, like think 70s, 80s corporate America. They've basically neutered the corporate America of today is a feminine hellhole. That's what it is. The new rules get nothing done. There's no productivity. And success requires, being both somehow. Being, in this new feminine state where HR could get you fired, but also like you're not too productive and overbearing with your workmates and too competitive and making everybody else feel like shit because you get 10 times the work done. Makes no sense. So you have to play this pretend office politics bullshit, right? So you have a form of like interaction paralysis at work. How the fuck do you mentor a woman but avoid the lawsuits, right? How do you network after hours anymore, but also not with women because you want to avoid those issues? How do you build relationships at work, but maintain some form of a distance professionally? Yeah, MeToo killed the mentorship. Networking for a man today is actually dangerous, and the career growth got limited because of that. That's how rubbing elbows with people was how you used to make major inroads in the company that you work with. That avenue doesn't exist anymore. Most men here have a superior or somebody, mostly a woman. So how does that look for you to be what? Having a beer with your female boss somewhere after hours, 7, 8 o'clock to talk about what? You see? So that avenue, it disappeared for men. And competition complicates a lot of shit for guys. The young ones, fresh bloods that go through these corporations, they excel, but you're not supposed to do it in an intimidating manner. You can't show off. You can't make your coworkers look bad. You have to keep it within the group, very feminized. Do good, but not too good, because Sally will feel bad because like, oh my God, you're much better than she is. Yeah. So you're supposed to win, but only if everyone else feels good. So you got to share your wins with everybody. Yeah. Yeah. But Sally helped me. I couldn't do this without Sally. So you have to learn an office politic now. Instead of grinding it the fuck out, losing weekends, showing up with an entire, docket of shit that your boss wanted to do right on time when everything was about to be done with, right? Last day, due deadline, boom. And you showed up with this golden fucking, doc, and we're like, here you go, boss. I absolutely crushed this shit. I'm ready to do a presentation on it right now. Oh, but Sally helped me also. If it wasn't for Sally sending that one email, like, I don't think I would have been able to complete this, because you're going to make everybody else look like shit. Because, like, oh my God, look at this sweaty motherfucker. Like, doesn't he have a life? Doesn't he have a family? Like, I don't like him. And if you get into that scenario at work where your coworkers hate you, they'll get you fired. It's happened to a couple guys here. I've heard those stories often. So career growth completely limited in that sense. They encourage mediocrity today, right? Excellence is actually problematic. You have to share credit. That's what's bullshit. This is team effort. Team effort. Sally did a Zoom call. Team effort. Yeah. And that's just the corporate woke field. Then you have the dating confusion. So approach anxiety is basically amplified for every man, because you got to somehow make the first move, but respect her boundaries. Yeah, you show interest, but not too much. Don't be a thirsty bitch. Somehow there's always a tightrope you're walking, right? You're confident, but don't be aggressive, bro. And by the way, being aggressive is only aggressive if you're ugly, because if you're hot, then it's totally only confident, right? One misread and you're a fucking creeper. That's your label forever. You're an incel. You're an abuser. You're some shit that'll get you fired. It doesn't matter. If you're too careful, you're a bitch and you're in the friend zone. Like, God, can't you make a move? And the sweet spot is somehow invisible. So either you go full blown predator mode, man's man, hunting down prey, making moves, no ulterior motives. You know what you want. And if you're hot, that gets rewarded extremely well. If you're ugly, you're a fuck creeper, you're going to jail. Or you play it too safe, beta bitch, long term, waiting 10 fucking years to make a move after she got pumped and dumped by half the city. And then you're waiting for her to wake up and like you one day. And then she goes, well, you know what? Why didn't you ask me 5 years ago before I got pregnant by 7 dudes? How the fuck are you supposed to win? It's insanity. So the relationship dynamics are fucking worse still. You have to lead in your relationship, but get consent from me first. Did you ask me to do that? Right? Provide for me, but don't emasculate me either. Like, oh, you earn so much? Wow, Ted, you make so much more money than me. You think you're better than me because you could afford it? The feminists literally say that shit. They're because, you think you make all, I don't need your fucking money. I didn't ask you to pay for anything, but also I expected you to pay for everything, because that's one of the reasons why I got with you in the first place. Wasn't that fucking weird, huh? Isn't that weird? Jeez Louise. Yeah. Also protect me and like go in front of a bullet, but don't control me. Don't fucking tell me what to do. But like, if there's a robber, I expect you to give your life, but also don't fucking tell me how I should live mine. All right, dude. Makes perfect sense. So why does this relationship even exist? Yeah. So yeah, natural instincts essentially are wrong. Modern rules are always unclear, and the confusion is constant for a man. You're hearing 10 different things. Your GPS is turned on 4 different fucking directions. Neither works.
NXRD sent $5. My girl theorizes that it's men at the top employing women to kick all the ladders down, so there is the top 1% men greater than women greater than the rest of the men.
That's a good theory. I wouldn't agree with it, though. I think it's actually far worse than that. I think most of the jobs aren't even real, and I won't get into that. That's a little too spicy for the stream. We'll continue. We'll maybe get into that thread later. So we'll move on. We'll move on into, AI is going to have a field day with women's jobs, but move on to sexual expectations, right? That's the next part of this. We talked about in the last episode too, when we were going in on, good D, bad D. So you want to be dominant in bed, but if you're with a progressive woman or a feminist, you must get verbal permission for every fucking thing you do. And you got to somehow last forever and actually knock her shoes off, but also be vulnerable and like open up. Yeah. And somehow know what she wants in bed, but don't fucking assume, you rapist. Yeah. Because porn tells you one thing, she says another, and reality is often different entirely. So it feels like you need a fucking PhD in gender studies, in law, and a fucking crystal ball just to ask someone out today. That's your magic combination. Yeah. You need your own Palantir. Shit. So, or what was the other orb? that other white wizard had. There's Palantir and there was something else. He had like that little Eye of Sauron ball, or was that the Palantir itself? I can't even remember. I haven't watched that since it came out. Dude, that was an epic. Yeah, Palantir, and I don't know what the other one was called. Maybe chat knows. I'm not sure. Anyway, so let's deconstruct how masculinity actually became toxic, guys, and we have to go back. And someone said there was no other one. I swear to you, there was one more orb that gave you some sort of ability. Maybe there was just the Palantir. I thought there was one more. Okay, so if we go back pre 1960s, what was the masculine ideal? Okay, with clear expectations, by the way. You were a husband, you were a father, you were a provider, period. And you're expected to, or at least be a part of the community in the form of leadership or protection. And stoic strength was something that was admired in every man. We all had a role clearly defined. Society supported it. Men all around had purpose. And the social contract was simple. You work hard, you get married, and you support a family. And loyalty was rewarded with security. You had a pension. You had a company that kept you for 20, 30, 40 fucking years. And respect, you actually got to earn it with duty, right? Clear paths were available for you. Achievement was recognized and your identity was stable. And then you had a structure of meaning too, right? Like church. That provided men with a moral framework, man. And work, which was available, and you could actually support a family on one job, that provided you with purpose. And what did family give you? The last piece of the puzzle to your happiness was your legacy. So you had 3 pillars supporting you, and each were reinforcing the other one. So men knew their places. This is all lost. Then you had the 1960s and 70s, the disruption. This is where it started. The Vietnam basically broke the warrior. That was one of the first wars, I think, where literally our veterans were coming home and they were hated. So the draft destroyed all trust. The warriors, they were called baby killers back then. They were being protested. The military service was considered shameful now. Our heroes became villains. The sacrifice they made was mocked. And the protection role was questioned in the 60s and 70s. And then feminism challenges the provider during this time, right? Women started entering the workforce. You don't need a man messaging started creeping up in society during the 60s and 70s. The provider role was being seen as increasingly obsolete, right? The economic value was gone. Protection's unnecessary in our safe society. So what's left? What's left for a man? And then, boom, the sexual revolution upends all the structure. Marriage is now optional. Commitment is old-fashioned bullshit, yeah? And the traditional family was now oppressive, full-on oppressive now. So casual sex gets normalized. Any consequence of that was minimized, and stability of the family was completely destroyed. You see, someone said it. Anduril. There you go, Anduril. Anduril was the second one, yeah. So in one decade, everything that defined masculinity for millennia became problematic, guys, in just the 60s and 70s. And then you fast forward to the 80s and 90s and we get the mixed messages starting again, right? The sensitive man experiment. This is where it really starts to hit the scene where, it was like the Phil Donahue model, right? Talking about your feelings, crying publicly is okay. Emotional expression is encouraged, right? This metrosexual shit started coming on the scene. Women said they wanted this. They loved metrosexual men. Men try to deliver on that because men want women. And then attraction died. Right? And then the backlash reality hit. Sensitive men started getting friend zoned. Bad boys were still winning more than ever. And then the confusion was mounting for average guys. Because why? Women were saying one thing, then doing another. Nice guys started finishing last. And the players were proliferating. All the fuck boys started multiplying in mass. Because that was the way to get laid. And then the media started manipulating you. You know how? Because you had the Alan Alda celebration types, right? The Schwarzenegger was dominating the box office. I'll be back. Yeah. Get into the chopper. You had these uber fucking jacked, juiced up dudes, but the mixed messaging was still everywhere. Sensitive in articles and newspapers, but dominant in entertainment. Make it make sense, right? And then you had the whole corporate contradiction as well. You had your Gordon Gekko, old school types versus the new age corporate man. Greed is good was celebrated with Gordon Gekko. Also care about people though. Somehow. Yeah, greed is good, but care about people. So ruthless but compassionate, does it make any sense to anybody? You were told that we're supposed to win at all costs, hyper competitive, but we need to be ethical. Yeah. It's an impossible standard to uphold. You can't have both, but the messaging was always both. So then work-life balance is also a lie because you're expected to put in fucking 80 hours for success. Remember that? But somehow, guys, be present as a father. You're always working. I want a divorce. You're never home. You're always working, providing for us. And so I fuck the gardener. You're never home. You don't pay attention to me while you sacrifice your body for work. So I'll just fuck the pool boy. That's what you were rewarded with putting in those 80-hour fucking work weeks. Yeah. This have it all mythology, something, sacrificed always in a man's life, usually family. And then you are always guilty, inevitably. Always. It's your fault. If you sacrifice too much time at work, you're a fucking idiot for sacrificing your family. If you didn't put in too much time at work, you're also a fucking idiot for dooming your family to a life of poverty. You could never win. You could never win. You weren't designed to win. The system was designed to have you fail at every single turn. So the provider pressure still remains, though. Women were working, but still expected men they need to earn more. Somehow, we weren't to share everything. You got to still make more money than me. So traditional expectations were persisting through all of this under this progressive veneer of 50-50. Don't need a man to have one. We're going to share everything. No, psych, you got to make more money and you're paying all the bills. And what I earn is mine. My money's my money. But biology was unchanged, right? Confusion keeps growing, right? So then the 80s and 90s gave men a fucking whiplash effect. You got to be sensitive but successful, caring and competitive somehow, equal but still a man. Remember that. We're supposed to be equal with women, but somehow still a man who's in charge and who leads. Yeah. Can you see how the confusion is building throughout the decades here? Now we're going to move into the 2000s and the 2010s. And this is where the whole toxification shit started, right? First, we'll get into the academic assault because we know our colleges, all our institutions now, that's where toxic masculinity is coined. So we'll get into that. Thank you, Blue Ride. Appreciate everybody. It's donated as well and tuning in. Welcome, guys. So all traditional traits are pathologized. Okay. We literally had the American Psychological Association say that stoicism, competition, and all that other shit, all traditional markers of masculinity, is toxic and bad for boys and unhealthy for men's psychology. Dog shit, completely politicized our institutions to push a progressive messaging that doesn't work in the real world. So strength is now oppression. Do you see? And leadership went into domination. Competition is toxic. Stoicism's harmful. Protection is controlling. And then you throw in the privilege narrative, right? All males have unearned success somehow. And all males struggle, but also that's invisible. So that makes no sense because you can't struggle. You're a man. There's no such thing as a man that's struggling. You're an oppressor class. That's what your status is within society. You can't complain ever, you fucking oppressor, you goddamn patriarchal pig. Your problems are always minimized because how could you have a problem if you're an oppressor within a system that was designed for you, and your suffering will get ignored. So mental health issues, 4x the self-delete rates of women and growing rapidly is not a problem, does not exist. You live in a system designed for you to succeed. If you can't succeed, that's because you're fucking dumb, oppressor. How can somebody that has so much privilege not succeed in a privileged society? And that's weird, right? Isn't that weird? From the most privileged class in society. That's great. So then the education transformation began. So we started medicating boys because of their masculinity. Sit down, kids, shut up. Stop moving. Stop fidgeting. Stop talking so much, right? Have this boring class where it's a monotonous fucking woman spewing dog shit on a fucking board. Totally, dude. That's going to keep your attention. So male behavior is problematic now. And feminine learning is prioritized. Of course, ADHD diagnosis started exploding for our young boys. And then this is the emergent boy crisis that was beginning by, I believe, Richard Wolff, Dr. Wolff. And he wrote a book on that, The Boy Crisis. Largely ignored by society. And then purpose was completely stripped out of our boy. We don't even have shop class anymore. Actually, we don't even have Boy Scouts anymore. It had to become inclusive. Yeah. And then moving on from education, we even had as recently the MeToo overcorrection. Yeah. Every man is a potential predator. An accusation these days is conviction. You don't need proof. You just need to be accused by a couple of people, your name smeared in the media, and you get branded as a predator, and your life ends. You didn't even go to court yet. Just the accusation gets you fired from work, ostracized from your friends or the community as a whole, and then the divorce proceedings start and your family moves away from you and you lose everything. You lost everything on accusations. If you're in school as a man and you're in college, before the cops even look into the case, the school will unilaterally expel you, take away your entire future on an accusation. Sounds like a very privileged society that you're living in, doesn't it? So, I don't know. It feels good to be a man and so privileged in this society that's built to cater to me specifically. Totally like signing up for the draft. Mandatory. My name has to be over there in selective service, right? But not women. So much for equality. Yeah. So no proof is required. And then you have the Cannavale effect, essentially. Remember, that dude had decade fucking old accusations that were devastating to him. That's insane. Decades old. Somebody from 10, 20 years ago can come back and say that you grape them because maybe you became famous and they want some fucking money. Or you're at a confirmation hearing in the Senate and they want to destroy your life. So she got paid by somebody that wants to make sure you don't get confirmed. Yeah. Due process abandoned completely. So fear is now replacing interaction with women. Normal behavior is criminalized. Yeah, mentorship's fucking dead for men and connection is dangerous with women, period. You have to have what was it, the Mike Pence rule? That dude wouldn't be caught alone with the woman. He always has to he must be chaperoned at all times, specifically for these exact reasons.
Isaac sent $5. I had a biology teacher in high school that taught that Y chromosomes was an ugly mutation. This came from a guy too.
Wow, that's insanity. Jeez. So the workplace completely transformed. Whatever the HR department started off with, whatever that idea was, it got completely weaponized against men. Male space is completely eliminated. They don't exist anymore. They're actually illegal. And interaction is completely scripted, right? When you speak to female coworkers, your natural behavior is risky. You don't have the small team of men where you used to shoot the shit. You used to talk a lot of shit. You used to be super competitive. You know, hey, Ted, I just wrote half of this program last night. I didn't even fucking go to sleep. You know, I was just so excited and like, what'd you get done today, bitch? You're probably sleeping all day while I was coding fucking mountains of lines of code and you didn't even get shit done. I slept at the fucking office. And these small cracked teams of engineers and science, they don't exist anymore because we've introduced women and they don't see work and competition the same way we do. So now we have to police our behavior. And so corporations that have a ton of women working for them, typically you can watch like inversely. The more women they hire, the less productivity they have. And a woman CEO said that she doesn't like hiring women IT specialists, I think it was, or women coders, simply because they're just not as good as women. Yeah. So someone said, did I see where was that? Did I see the HR chick caught with her boss? Yeah, the CEO. That story is going so viral right now. I'm sick of seeing it because I've seen it on multiple platforms now and it's always the same bullshit. They're talking shit about just him, the CEO. He's a piece of shit, right? Because he's cheating on his wife. And they both ended up losing their jobs. And what else happened? They're memeing the fuck out of him. And I saw a meme specifically where it showed like a woman in a kitchen with like 3 kids and she was like hot, younger woman. And then it showed the HR older lady. And women were saying like his wife at home and the woman he cheated on. I haven't heard a single fucking meme or anybody asking how the husband of the HR bitch feels. It was always like, whoa, his wife. Oh my God, how could he do that? What an asshole. But that other guy got cheated on too. The boss was porking his wife. Nobody says shit to him. Not a single fucking, how's that guy feel? Nothing. Nothing. We meme the CEO. Stupendous double standards in society. So it's ridiculous. Anyways, by 2020 and beyond, masculinity wasn't even, questioned anymore. It's criminalized, pathologized, and basically you got marked for extinction unless you're a weak soy boy. That's all that's allowed. The new aged male, the dudes cutting their dicks off, probably chemically and literally. That's the only kind of man that's allowed to exist in this world today. That's the only man that gets celebrated because you put on a skirt and some fucking lipstick, you go trending on social media. But if you show yourself living the day-to-day life of an average man, nobody gives a fuck. Isn't that weird how that doesn't get pushed? You up on the power lines, making sure everybody's got electricity. You digging the ditches. You over there roofing and shit. The guy helping with the bridges being maintained. That doesn't get views. But a dude putting on a fucking skirt and dancing like a weirdo does. That gets millions of, you go, girl. You support. Yeah. But you're an average guy, you're a fucking patriarchal pig, and the system benefits. You know, how fucking stupid is that? Yeah. And we'll move on now to the 2020s, right? The COVID. COVID accelerated all this wacky shit too, by the way. You know, you got isolation from working from home. Male bonding practically went extinct there unless you were gaming online. And what happened? Mentorship, it already died like a decade before. And competition is virtualized now. We just play, we get our battle passes and go balls to the wall on battle royales, right? There's no more physical presence, no real connection, and purpose is evaporating from a man's life. You can only find it in increasingly rare institutions like MMA gyms, shit like that. The last the last bastion of masculine places, potentially, or the last bastion of masculinity, better yet. And then you couple that with the economy that we're in, we have the provider crisis, yeah? Jobs are disappearing, guys, and AI is going to make it worse. Women were less affected because the DEI has helped prop them up, but that's not going to last because the AI jobs are taking majority women's jobs. The paper pushers, the schedulers, the talking bullshit, and the, you know, those spreadsheet people are all going. It's a wrap. Data entry, all that shit, goodbye. Goodbye. So, you know, women less affected temporarily. And unfortunately, though, during this transition, a man's value has completely plummeted because, you know, government has replaced daddy in the home. They completely wholesale replaced what a provider was. You know, you got stimmy checks going out to them. They got dependency that's normalized in society today. Big daddy government will bail me out for all my mistakes, you know? And then you have a fucking mental health explosion on top of this shit. We talked about how men are Xing themselves out at 4x the rate, but you're a patriarchal pig. You're an oppressive, toxic man. You're a predator, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. And men don't get help anyways. That's the only bad part about this. We're very stubborn and going to get help. But we all know that there's not much help to get. There is not many programs for men. Therapy's female focused, guys. And medication is like a Band-Aid on the symptom, which we know. We don't want medication. We want solutions. We want to be healed, not chronically treated. And those solutions by mainstream big pharma aren't solutions for men because our brains don't work that way. Oh, I'm on pills. I take these pills and then I'm cured. No, sorry. You're going to have to live with this condition the rest of your life. Oh, but is there a cure? No, sorry. You're going to have to get this treatment forever. Okay. Well, I don't want this treatment. Then I want a cure. Oh, sorry. Cure doesn't exist. The cure to get the cure to your problem, you're going to have to pay inordinate amounts of money. And so men say, fuck that shit. Why should I go to a doctor to get treated for life for something they can't fucking even fix? Yeah. And so that's where you get on a societal scale, you get like these caricatures of what a man is, and extreme too. You'll get the Andrew Tate's hyper masculine versus the Harry Styles feminine man. One is celebrated and one gets backlash. Do you know which one? The one who puts the fucking dress on is the one who gets celebrated. That looks like a fucking weirdo. But the dude talking about having a good body, taking care of your body, working out, having a, you know, strong mentality, right? Climbing up the ladder, uber success, attain everything in life, super competitive. That's toxic, bro. You hate women. He's a fucking trafficker. You hate women. You know, jail that guy. But you get a dude who puts a fucking dress on and some lipstick, absolutely put him in every movie, every song, every piece of social media. Hey, prop him up, dude. Hey, push him on everybody. You see, wearing a skirt's tight. That's so manly. Incredible, right? There's no fucking middle ground today. You have to be an extreme. You can't average is hell. I told you guys being an average man today is hell. You're either an absolute flamer who gets it up the ass, or you're an uber hyper masculine version of what a man is. You can't be anything in between today. Being just in the middle makes you invisible and living through hell. Yeah. Dylan Mulvaney is one extreme end versus Andrew Tate, the other extreme end. Both of them are partially right. Yeah. We should be celebrating the, how could you say, the middle, right? The sensible middle should be celebrated. We should look at the extremes with like curiosity. But unfortunately, the extremes now represent success and the middle represents hell. So you got the fucking loneliness epidemic because of no male spaces, because nobody has a clear fucking purpose. We have no coherent identity. Yeah, digital connection is fake, man. It's not real. And real connection is dangerous. Isolation feels safer for the average guy. This is what the loneliness epidemic is. To be in the middle is to be that. And they wonder, right? The checking out phenomenon. Oh my God, why are people in the middle doing basically like two things? Or maybe three. You could say there's like three options for the average dude who's not on the extreme ends or doesn't even want to be on the extreme ends. He just wants a nice normal life. Like I don't need uber hyper, masculinity and success. And I also don't want to put on a fucking skirt and blow cocks, right? So where is your middle? Well, your middle is MGTOW. So checking out the game. The other one is like passport bro. Just leave the toxic swamp that you're in. Or you're a young dude and you just give up completely. You don't even attempt the game. So system's rigged against you and you feel it. Why fucking play? That's what they're asking themselves. So withdrawal is logical for these dudes. What's the other choice? Tube stakes? Yeah. The whole fucking gooning to trans pipeline. We see what's happening. We basically create a world where being a man is simultaneously somehow fucking required and forbidden. Yeah. And this stuff this is why I say the goon to troon, whatever pipeline, this has profound psychological consequences on men. So the toll, right? If you go inside the male mind, here's the fucking toll for all this. You essentially need like multiple personalities, right? The workplace persona. You have to be a collaborative feminist ally to somehow not get fucking fired by all your bitch coworkers that hate you for being successful. Then you somehow, you must respect all perspectives and you never can butt heads with anybody to create better ideas because good ideas flourish when they're challenge. So you can't do that because challenging hurts Sally's feelings. And so you can't threaten or dominate in any way whatsoever. Perceived. It's not even a real threat. It's just you're perceived as a threat or dominant. So suppress your competitive instinct, bro. And, perform enlightenment at work for everybody else. You're like this dude. You have to be the emotional tampon for Sally and her shitty performance, right? It's exhausting. And so then you have to have your dating persona, be confident, but, not too cocky somehow. And you got to show some interest, bro, but not too fucking thirsty because, oh my God, he's so thirsty. But also, why doesn't he talk to me? He's such a bitch. Yeah. Everything we said earlier. So you have your dating persona. Then you have the friend group persona where you could actually be a bro when it's appropriate. You can actually tell people what's going on because it's the friend group that you respect. You have to be like the code switcher supreme today. Different rules for different fucking masks, for different social interactions. You get a cognitive load. That's the crisis today. This is the mental issues that we're all having, the mental drain. Every action feels like you have to analyze that shit. Every fucking word needs to be measured to not hurt somebody's sensitivities. Every choice feels like politics. Essentially, you have to, identify, like, if I make this decision, what is the political fallout? What is the blowback from this? Calm down, bro. Constant mental exhaustion. Spontaneity is dead. Any joy you used to get out of life, fucking eliminated now, right? We have the overthinking epidemic. Is this toxic? Am I oppressing? The young guys are really asking, will this shit offend people? You're second guessing everything. Confidence is fucking impossible in that kind of system. And anxiety is essentially your default living in this world. Imagine that. And they're like, man, be your authentic self. How? It's impossible. How do you become authentic in this world where your true self is unacceptable to people? You have to be performative because it's required to have your multiple masks to be able to swap out of them. And then you're expected to somehow not exhaust yourself. That shit's inevitable. You're never off stage. Constantly, life is a performance. You're always monitoring what you're saying. And you're burnout guaranteed in these scenarios. Think about this shit. Modern men are basically method actors, right? Who never gets a break character ever. There's no time off for you because it could cost you everything. That's what's crazy. Yeah. So then that leads into the emotional dysregulation that so many guys feel, right? So, anger, you can't let that out. It's unacceptable. So it's the most honest emotion and you can't utilize it. The most policed response, and it must always transform into something like sadness, into discussion. You must talk about your anger, never pure expression, never punching a fucking hole in the wall, never breaking something, never going to a gym and hitting the dog shit out of a bag or rolling with another human being or go running until you can't even fucking feel your lungs anymore. Something. You cannot exert your anger physically in any way. You must talk. We must discuss.
Fresh Media sent $19.99. Being truly average is a nightmare on earth. I also wanted to ask if you think DEI is more targeted towards minority men or women. Black and Hispanic men have not benefited from DEI as much as the women have.
100% women. Women and all those other victim groups beyond that. LGBTQ and yeah. Primary target was that inclusive shit. Then you get a little bit of minority men and then. But only after those were satisfied and the workplace got all its, positions filled for diversity.
An XRD sent $10. I live that, doing that turns you into man that constantly thinks about do they like me, you constantly thinking what people think. Here BC, this community has the promise of changing my life.
Welcome, brother. Yeah. Hopefully you get to see you're not the only one and that you're not weird for thinking that way either. Yeah. Because they try to make it feel like you're some fucking dinosaur and the way you're thinking is No, all men literally think like this. Yeah. So anger, boys, not allowed. Remember that. Talk about it. Vulnerability, that's a trap too. You're told to open up, dude. And why? Because you're punished when you do. When a man cries about what issues he has online, literally the internet memes him. There was a dude that went viral for I don't know what the fuck he was crying about, sharing his emotions. And literally the internet, all women, were literally memeing the shit out of this poor guy for whatever reason. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. He cried about something or he was expressing frustration with society and being alone, feeling lonely and all this shit or something like that. And girls on TikTok and X and shit were fucking riding him, dude, brutally, just because he shared his, feelings. Exactly how they described for you to do what is told to be healthy. But that's the double standard because what they tell you to do, you really should be doing the opposite. So they punish you when you do it. So you got to learn to fake that shit, right? You can never be a genuine person. So when they tell you that you can't be vulnerable and then you go dip your toes into like stoicism, you're shamed for that, right? Which is a natural male tendency to be stoic. It's labeled unhealthy by the American Psychological Association. Can you believe that? So you must perform, these feelings always, even when you're processing, even when unnecessary. It's all like an emotional theater that they constantly want you wired into. So you can never think clearly. You can never escape the trap. You're always stuck, always dependent on somebody telling you what you need to do, how you should think, why this is correct. When you can deal with your own emotions and your own problems the way men do. Yeah. So, the depression epidemic, that affects everybody. But I think specifically the meaningless epidemic is more to men because women report super high levels of depression also. But for men, the meaningless, because they got no clear purpose. We don't have what it means to be a man today. We don't know. We're told 10 different things. There's no valued roles, there's no future vision either of what it means to be a man or like how you're going to be a man in a future. Like ask a young guy today, like what's the bar at 30, 40, 50 for your life? Where do you think, because where do you think you'll end up? How will your life look? They have no idea. They can't even think that far because the light at the end of the tunnel, there's no light for them. So, providers are unnecessary. There goes one role. Protectors are unwanted. There goes another role. They got men competing at women's sports today, like as if that's somehow fucking normal. Like we're that equal. Really? And you can't lead your relationship because that's fucking toxic, bro. So, and you're shamed for achievements, right? Success is problematic. Remember, so you can't even be too successful and earn good money and outshine your woman. And that's toxic as fuck too. And, excellence is viewed as suspicious in men because what are you, a fucking psycho, dude? So that's why they say, I'm not trying. What's the fucking point? I don't get rewarded. I don't get respect. I get nothing. I get shit on for no matter what I do. If I'm too successful, I'll get shit on. If I'm not successful enough, I'll get shit on. And the doctors will tell you, like, you need to get medicated, bro. You need, like, an SSRI, just like most fucking liberal women are on, right? It's like the number one thing they're prescribed, SSRIs. Hey, dude, you got a problem mentally? Cool, just numb yourself. Instead of solving your real problem and the issue that you do have, we'll just put you on medicine like everybody else to just constantly treat you for life. So we have the zombie fucking generation up here. The zombies. It's not fent zombies. The fent zombies are a different type of zombie you find on the street. The zombies we have today are the SSRI zombies. That's what we mostly have in the streets today. So welcome, you're in the zombie generation. Feelings are flattened out. Yeah, everyone's drive is fucking destroyed, but the problem is still there. We didn't fix any of the problem. So essentially, created a generation of men who feel deeply, but you can't express authentically. Yeah, it's a great world to be in. And then we'll get into the relationship dysfunction. So I like to call this the intimacy impossibility. Because with women, you can't be fully honest today, right? Performance is always required. And if you're authentic, that kills attraction because she says she wants a real man, but reacts badly to real men, right? It's safer to just put on the performance and pretend. And then with men, right, there's no framework for connection anymore. Vulnerability feels gay. That's what every guy says. And competition only mode, hustle grind culture, all that shit. Deep friendships are becoming more and more extinct for guys. Dude, the brotherhood seems impossible today. We're all alone together. Isn't that weird?
Mr. Solely to 777 sent 5,000 yen. Hey Bo, if a woman truly loves you, she will do anything for you.
Agreed.
My Japanese girlfriend is so feminine, she's like a loyal puppy to me. Laying my boundaries, she accepts them. I'm the king, and she supports. We laugh and tease each other. 34 meters 25F.
Nice. Good shit, brother. Yeah. This is why password bros are still W. Finding that in the West is extremely difficult. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying the return on investment and digging through the trash is not worth it. So good job that you found your own. That is natural in the rest of the world. We're fighting against biology. And we're told to be the feminine ones now, and they're told to be the masculine ones now. That's why we have these issues. That's why we're talking about this shit, right? This is the mask that you have to wear. Do what we tell you, but also what we tell you to do doesn't work. This is the disconnect with our identity. Women have their own issues. I haven't even covered. This is just covering the men's side of the issues. Anyway, I appreciate you donating, bro. Hope you're enjoying life. Sounds like you are. And I think I know who you are too. If I'm thinking correctly.
Tiber 56 sent $5. No man should fake being a man. Fake till you make it leaves you empty and stressed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, being real can get you fired or get you jailed. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Isaac sent $5. There is no loyalty anymore nowadays. People have rosters, situationships, FWB, etc. etc. Finding a person that is only talking to you is rare.
It is. And that is why we have a massive dysfunction, yeah. And that is why men have opted for overseas. Because the statistics don't look good. Your success rate in the West is damn near zero, to be honest. And it's getting worse. Worse and worse. And that mask that you guys are talking about, it's also with the self, by the way. So for the young guy, like older guys understand this, but for the young guys, by the way, they have issues with their self-identity also because since birth, they've been told different things. You at least grew up in a society where you knew what a man was and you can look at what society has become for men and be disgusted. But for the young guys, they don't know what it means to be your authentic male self. They have, that multiple persona shit I mentioned earlier, that's confusing to a young male's mind. And their core identity is missing. They'll ask themselves very simple questions like, who am I really, right? What do I want? Or why do I even exist? Like, what is a man? What does it mean to be a man? You never had to ask these kinds of questions. Like the basic, why? What does it mean to be a man? Like that's insane. That's insane that's normalized, right? So trust is collapsed in society. So you can't trust women. They say one thing, they want another. The MeToo weapon got weaponized, right? So you could be punished for being alone with them. Divorce rate potential in society is at an all-time high. It seems like you're safer alone. The risk is too high, and men will start putting walls up. They already are. I just had an article here. Let me find this shit. I put it, I think, in my post. And it says, it's about vaccinated women. Damn. It says vaccinated women are now considering lying about their vax status as more men see them as an infertility risk. I had another one about marriage, but I don't know where I put that one. Okay, here we go. 60 to 80% of men 18 through 40 aren't getting married. They're not even dating. A new study confirms the shift. Millions of men have stepped away from dating scene entirely. And they ask the question, why do you think that is? Think about it. I'm breaking it down right now. This is the male identity crisis. Why do you fucking think? What do you think society has done to the male identity? Yeah? So, can't trust women, can't trust men either, by the way. The simp epidemic, it's real, guys. No more competition. You have to collaborate now because of the snakes. Everybody is struggling, so nobody can really be trusted. You're not even allowed to be vulnerable. Okay. Surface level only, because they'll use that shit against you. Real talk's impossible. And isolation is normal today. A simple definitely snitch you out for sure. And society, fucking forget about the rules change all the time. Punishment, completely random. If you're the nail that sticks out, you get disappeared. So there's no stable ground. What's okay today may not be okay tomorrow. And what will be okay tomorrow? We don't know. The line shifts in the sand depending on who's in office. So anxiety is constant with guys. This might be okay to talk about, but 5 years from now, this will get the channel banned, for example. Who the fuck knows? We don't. So modern men are living in like an emotional solitary confinement, with conjugal visits or performance reviews by your boss, by your girlfriend, by society. Don't act out of line too much, you little fucking simp, and pay your taxes. And don't have too many goddamn expectations. Yeah? But do just enough to keep giving us your money, your time, your attention, everything that makes you valuable. And then you have fucking behavioral problems because of all this shit. So you have the avoidance strategies that men are taking. Don't approach women. Don't mentor fucking anybody. Don't stand out. Invisible is safe, right? Excellence is dangerous. You become a target. People come out of the woodwork accusing you of shit to take your fucking money. Being mediocre actually protects you in a strange way. We don't celebrate greatness in men anymore. Greatness is now a fucking risk. Yeah? So then men will start to do retreats, digital ones, right? Gaming over reality because fuck, dude, you're not going to jail in your video game. Porn over partnerships, that's proliferating, and then soon AI. And then for friends, it'll be like parasocial over personal relationships because you maintain control in these situations. Your rejection is avoided completely, and the pain, if there was any, is completely minimized. Yeah. And then there's, and then guys, so like, what do you do? Get addicted to, say, substances, right? So like alcohol, there's guys that have problems with drinking or weed or, harder, even they'll get on harder drugs just to deal with the fact that like reality is too painful, or they feel like an escape is necessary, or, they'll deal with consequences later because anything's better than feeling what I'm feeling now. So, and that's an unfortunate, like the guy we just covered before this video, that dude in his 100p fucking potato camera. You see that guy? He's a completely normal dude, well-spoken. He's completely cripplingly alone. So what's your choice, dude? You have to do what? Tate-style extremism, misogyny. You have to use that as a fucking shield. You have to become hyper masculine. You intake aggression as a form of your identity because you have to. It creates like the carapace around you that protects you from all this soft bullshit. The pendulum swings far in another direction. There's no nuance here. You only have to be one way to survive. That's the caricature is almost easier than being your authentic self in some way. That's what's crazy.
Samantha sent $4.99. Young men are told that they need to be more like their female counterparts.
Yes.
But they also told to think like a woman and act like a woman.
That's true. 100% true. That's all I'll get into next. The complete feminization. The one end is the hypermasculine Tate style, and then the other one is the total ally.
CD sent $20. A woman's are so deceptive. It's like someone throwing poop in your face with such finesse you think it's flowers. And only after she leaves after getting what she wants do you wake up to the smell of what actually happened.
So good. That's so good. Thank you, ABCD. Yeah. So what is the feminization that Samantha mentioned? It's basically you got to be a total fucking ally sim, dude. Like the male feminist. And then you have to internalize like self-hate of being a man, right? Just like the male femmes are. The new males. And then you have to reject all things masculinity. You do. So you basically become what they want. You lose your sense of self forever. And even then, the fucked up part, it's still not enough. So then you have the last pathway, which is like being a player. So you get used to the contradictions, you manipulate the system, and you become what works. And what works? Think about it. Dark triad traits, they fucking work. Psychopathy, that shit pays. Being a complete psychopath. Authenticity is a failure. You wear your mask permanently and you manipulate the shit out of people to get what you want. That's the winning move. Yeah? That's not what we should be rewarding as society, but that's the only thing that works in society. Because being average is hell. Being average is invisible. So when society makes like the authentic masculinity impossible, men always will have to become the caricatures, the ghost or the predator. What do you want to be? I mean, you could leave it in the chat, dude. Would you rather be a ghost or be a predator? That's the truth. And the fragmentation manifests differently across life domains, So the workplace identity crisis. We have like a performance problem. We understand. We mentioned earlier. So, merit essentially is like a discrimination lawsuit today. And what could you say? We know competition is toxic masculinity. Achievement is just straight up privilege. If you do a job well, they try to punish you. If you they'll promote actively diversity over ability. So then you're actively working in a place that rewards incompetence, and then you get pushed out, right? So you have the collaboration trap. They inhibit innovation because risk taking is problematic. Bold moves are not seen as inclusive, and disruption is somehow harmful. But that's all corporations used to do: disrupt the markets that we're in. Play it safe always for Cindy. Mediocrity thrives in the feminized corporate workplace. Breakthroughs, we're not making as many as we used to, right? So you can't lead like a man anymore, because if you yell at your fucking coworkers, that's aggression. All right. And if you have clear expectations, you're not taking into account feelings. So you're being too demanding. Performance standards, it's not fair. Yeah. You have to feminize every single approach. So effectiveness suffers. There's plenty of guys I could tell you that they worked in small teams with men only. They were super fucking competitive, highly productive, and doing groundbreaking shit for the company. And then they introduced a woman, and all that productivity and effectiveness went down the fucking toilet right away. A ton of men can tell you in the comment section. So can't lead, too strong is toxic, too weak, you're ineffective, you got to be just right, and that shit's impossible. You're threading a fucking needle blindfold, and the rules are actively changing. It's insane. So you're guaranteed to be exhausted, right? So this is like modern male managers are expected to lead without leading, and succeed without somehow competing, and achieve anything without some form of ambition. You have to play because HR will beat down your fucking gullet immediately. So, and I mentioned earlier, like the mentorship minefield, that it doesn't exist anymore. Remember how you used to go have powwows with your boss or your senior coworkers and rub elbows and have a drink and, actually get a foot through the door later? You would actually build alliances within a corporation. That's dead, right? How the fuck? You can't mentor a woman. A woman doesn't want to mentor you. They keep with themselves, right? One-on-one meetings, guys, they're risky. I already said. What do you think happens after work drinks? That's a fucking lawsuit waiting to happen. Travel together, a man and a woman, that's career suicide. You got to do the pants rule everywhere. So, and that's so ironic because a woman's advancement suffers in that system too. There was another article that I saw that women were complaining that they have no mentorship and that, MeToo went too far and that men don't want to be alone with women anymore. And it's made the workplace toxic. Again, women most affected. Yeah. Everyone literally loses. So, but you can't exclude women. So, male only mentorship is discriminatory. Stupid. You see how stupid that is? But mixed groups don't work either. They don't perform as well. So then natural dynamics get destroyed. You can't give honest feedback to a mixed group for obvious reasons. Real talk's forbidden. Do you know how fucking crazy guys talk to one another when they're in small male work groups? They say the most toxic shit ever, right? You have to keep it surface level when women are involved, to be a gentleman, to not hurt feelings. Yeah. So then you get a connection crisis. No more golf courses with the boss, boys. That's over. No more drinks after work. Done. No more real relationships. Everything's documented. Everything's a potential lawsuit. Everything's fucking performative. Yeah. So the old guard is checked out. There's no more knowledge transfer you used to get. Who's going to train the replacement now? Good old Ted is done. He's out there. Why share any wisdom? Why invest? It's left. So young men are lost. You don't have role models. You don't have guidance anymore. You don't have a fucking path forward, right? You got to learn from YouTube. That's insane. You have to make the same mistakes over and over again. You have to reinvent the fucking wheel.
Ivy Intia sent $4.99. If Ghost or Predator is the choice, I must start moving like the Island Boys. I've seen too much, thanks to you guys.
You're welcome, bro. I don't think you want to move like Island Boys. Last video of them I saw, they're kissing each other and their brothers. Jeez Louise.
Sir_Wolfolk sent $5. You Bobby aka Kid Greatness is in Romania right now at a pool party. He's my boy with Austin Holloman. What's good, bro? Y'all should link. 100 emoji, handshake emoji.
I'm not in Romania anymore. I'm on the Croatian coast, bro. But I hope they have fun out there. Yeah, summer in Europe's always exciting. So We touched up on that networking nightmare, the death of the after hours, the remote work isolation, obviously. Remote work has kicked off since COVID. And actually, people prefer that as the new normal because you don't have to deal with all the bullshit corporate stuff anymore. No more finessing, no more lying, no more performances, no more politics in the corporate environment. You could just work from home, get everything done, right? So, unfortunately, that also makes it hard for you to move on up in a corporation. And competition got castrated. You can't openly strive for shit anymore and announce that you're going for the position because you're going to make everybody uncomfortable. People used to compete. People used to actually be like, hey, XYZ is retiring and his position is opening up, or somebody moved, left the company or whatever. And so a position would open up and like that whole department would be vying for that position. You'd have to compete with your that's gone. That's gone. It's all favoritism now. Who's sucking off the boss the most? Who do you think? Game over for you. Everyone's a winner but you. Yeah. So the participation trophy workplace, that's everywhere. Standards are either racist, sexist, or ableist somehow. Real achievements dead, boys. Fake praise is everywhere. And, meaning evaporated completely. We're in the era of Zoom calls and bullshitting. So they literally have wine at work today. Yeah. Modern workplaces are literally rewarding the appearance of collaboration over real achievement. So that drives the purpose vacuum. If work is without meaning and the bullshit jobs is a reality, right? You make fucking PowerPoints that nobody's reading. You're attending meetings about fucking nothing all day. You're sending emails to CYA, and it's just the meaningless epidemic, soul crushing jobs that do fucking nothing and you have no impact on a company and nothing you do matters, right? The mission statement is lying. It tells you that you're going to change the world. You're just selling ads, bro. Calm down. Or that you're going to help people and all you do is exploit data, right? You're going to make a difference. That's just making profits. It's corporate speak. It's all fucking empty. It's all marketing. Everyone knows the shit is fake. We just need a fucking paycheck to live. Stop playing.
Sean Strickland sent $5. Been watching since 2022. Thanks for all your good work, BO.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you tuning in all these years. So then you get in this fake ass system, you get the disengagement epidemic, right? 70% feel disengaged at work, like you're just showing up to be a mindless drone. Quiet quitting is now something mainstream that they talk about. You understand? That's a quiet quitting epidemic. The bare minimum is normalized. Why care? Why try? Paycheck's the only fucking goal. There's dudes that have like 6 jobs working remotely, just scamming all these tech companies. Why, dude? They don't reward loyalty. They don't intend to keep you there and give you a pension or some form of retirement like your grandpappy used to have. That's gone. You're there until they don't need you anymore and AI's coming for your job. So goodbye. You won't be needed for long. Just keep doing this job for the moment. So the provider role has been extinct in 2025. You can't support a family on a single fucking income. It's impossible, right? Dual income is barely enough, guys. And the traditional role is extinct anyway. What's a man's value, if not provider? That's the identity crisis. The fuck are we supposed to do now in the modern world? Or you're told you're not needed. You're as good as a bicycle is to a fish, right? That's stupid fucking meme. Until AI takes all their jobs and they're forced to suck half the workforce off for survival. Trust me, it'll get there, right? Then you have the whole shame spiral. If your wife earns more money, or you can't afford a house, or you can't provide security, right? The biological instinct you have gets frustrated in that system. Social expectations, you failed them and depression follows. That's what every man's dealing with, right? And then you get the whole search for meaning. What is that? Side hustles. It's a search for meaning. Entrepreneurship dreams. That's a search for meaning. Escape fantasies are constant now. That's a search for meaning. Must mean something. Must matter somehow. Must find purpose. Those 3 things are literally just integrated in a man's brain. Hear me out, dude. Must find something. Must matter somehow. Must find purpose. Constantly. All your actions can literally be described or explained through that viewpoint. So you used to work, or I should say, men used to work, to live and to provide. Now you work to exist and comply. So the confusion extends beyond work in the most intimate sphere too. And we touched up on the last episode, right? The dating personality disorder. Where can you approach a woman today, for example? The gym, it's considered harassment. You'll get put on TikTok and fucking clowned on because you looked at some girl's ass for a microsecond as she was bending over, like doing a pornographic fucking squat with some panties that's so far up her fucking cooter, you can see the camel toe from miles away. That's fucked up. Yeah. And then work, HR is a nightmare, a feminized garbage, right? The bar, you're a fucking creep and you're taking advantage of drunk chicks. On the street, it's fucking assault, bro, unless you're mega hot. Yeah. So nowhere is acceptable. But you must initiate some fucking out because women aren't going to do it. So paralysis is the result. That's what you get from all this.
Isaac sent $5. Tell everyone that there is a problem while also profiting off of said problem on the back end. Men are lonely. Go watch these women on webcams.
I agree, yeah. So, how the fuck do you express interest? If direct is, so Bo called out the Red Pill Grifters 3 years ago. Yeah, I did. I got a lot of heat for that, by the way. So if you're being direct and you're aggressive and indirectness is called weak, no, Goon Queen is not coming, bro. Stop it. Jesus Christ. Time him out. There are no simps allowed here. I can't believe it. Did you not see she was anti-goonery? Time his ass out. I can't believe this. Why are you here, bro? You should be on OnlyFans. Fucking gooners. Elon is the Goon King. He is. They're coming out with the female version of that. Its name's Valentine. It's the male character. So chicks will be gooning out to a fake AI bot very shortly here too, for all the fem cells.
NXRD sent $5. Why must we lament? Why can't we let the screechers screech and restore what was lost? Why can we make spiritual successors to restore masculinity?
Because they're in the halls of power and they dictate legislation. That's why. It's that simple. No one wants to have the real conversation that men instituted this system. The screechers that you're talking about, the screechers are men, feminized men. Guys that threw masculinity under the bus to get some pussy. That's the truth. Men voted in and support this system. A certain section of men. So what? Your own brothers betrayed you, not women. Women have always wanted this, but the only people that gave them power were weak men. But we don't want to go there, though, because, you know, the red pill tells you it's all women's fault, or at least some people in the red pill. It's easier to just blame women than to blame the men that sold men out. Mm-hmm. They don't want to have that conversation. So that one will hurt feelings. Yeah. So we went in through the consent confusion in the last episode where I'll consent for fucking everything. And then the bullshit dating dance that we have to do, right? Who pays? Strong boss babe. I do 50-50. No, you have to act like a real man. No, you man, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's all bullshit. So she expects you to pay, or she'll offer to split. If you offer to split, you're cheap, obviously. If you don't offer, you're somehow sexist. You know, it's like a test that you're going to fail. So there's no right answer. Resentment constantly builds, constantly, nonstop. So what are you supposed to do in this? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's the stupidity in this system. And, you know, the planning problem, that's another one. So how do you go to a date, bro? How do you take charge today? If it's seen as controlling. You know, half of women will tell you, I just want a man to do everything. I just want to show up. The other half will tell you, no, you have to ask me for where to go and like, let's plan together and don't be such a controlling dickhead. I don't like that. Cool story. And then on the other hand, if you ask for her opinion, you're fucking weak, bro. Also, if you suggest options, you're indecisive and you're a bitch. And if you decide everything, you're domineering. Except if you're hot, then it's hot. So you're expected to be a leader, but somehow democratic about the process. It's fucking constant confusion. It's stupid. So communication, same shit. You text too much, you're a needy bitch. You text too little, you're uninterested. If you call, you're a psychopath because they're so fucking antisocial. If you only text, you're an avoidant attachment type, right? The rules don't exist, bro. You just have to somehow know everything and be a master fucking mind reader. Yeah, and it changes per woman. It depends. Depends what woman you're talking to. That's the insanity. So modern dating requires men to be mind readers with law degrees in psychology PhDs. So you have to be able to do it all, right? And you need a crystal ball. You need your own fucking Palantir to know what they're thinking. Jeez Louise. So relationships, same shit. Somehow you got to be strong and soft, you know, be rock hard when she's ready, but also be a little femboy and cry your heart out. Yeah. You got to be a protector and a poet at the same time. Possible fucking combinations are expected at you. So, and none of that shit works, but it does make you emasculated, right? Somehow you respect her independence, but like pay for everything too, king. But also you're traditional when it's convenient, but then like let me be a boss bitch and go out with my friends in these like whore outfits, totally. So her money, untouchable. Yours is ours. Yeah. So that breeds resentment within a man right away. So, and then you get the emotional labor trap. Her emotions are always prioritized in your relationship. You got to validate her all the time. You got to comfort her immediately when something's wrong. You got to process problems together, right? Your emotions, though, they're inconvenient, and your struggles minimize hers. Support is one directional in our society. And that's what they tell us. Because men can't have emotions, but also show your emotions. It makes no sense. And then even when you do show them, they're weaponized, like I mentioned earlier. You're burdening her. Yeah. So stop being such a fucking burden, bro. And if you don't share, you're emotionally unavailable. Oh, but the wrong emotions that you share, that's toxic. Like, oh, you're angry? You know, you should work on that. You got anger issues. Frustration, that's, but how? Because you're a privileged person. You're only allowed to be a sad boy. You're in the sad boy era. That's it. Oh, you're sad. You're sad, huh? You're depressed. Go take some fucking SSRIs. Ridiculous. Yeah. And that's where you get shoved down the therapy industrial complex. Couples therapy, bullshit for marriage counseling, garbage. You're always the problem. All right. You must change fucking everything. She's perfect as is. You need to be fixed. It's like gaslight professionals. You're paying for them. Why? They never work anyways. Most men that go to couples therapy know it's a complete fail. And then you have the sexual identity crisis. We already went into that. I'm not even going to get into that from the last episode. We already know the consent culture impact, right? The dominance that they actually desire. She wants to be ravished, dude, but safely and consensually somehow, right? Be rough, but gentle. Forceful, but ask. That's what they tell you. The impossible standard is stupid. Then you got the porn influence. Now you got to perform like a fucking absolute stud, lasts forever, multiple positions. That's all. That shit is mandatory. And then, but your dick doesn't work because you watch any coom too much, like our resident gooner here who's wanting the goon queen. So, yeah, it's insanity, dude. Then there's stupid shit like attraction. So sick of hearing dad bods are hot when dad bods look like fucking James Bond and shit. I'll never forget that. They had a picture of James Bond on the beach and they're like, that's a cool dad bod. Yeah, that's what an average dad bod looks like. Totally. Yeah, 6-pack is practically required, but be a sensitive man in the streets. Yeah. Alpha male in the sheets. You get mixed messages, bro, all the time. Everything. Even our fucking orgasm's your job. You have satisfaction pressure, Your pleasure is secondary. You basically have like performance metric sex. Connection lost, intimacy impossible, anxiety default. Done. Good luck. Thanks, Soul Leader. Oh God, my girlfriend put me through if my girlfriend put me all the BS you mentioned, I'd dump her in a heartbeat. Yeah, definitely. So that's how you get this commitment problem that we have in this world today. So marriage is an impossible equation for guys. Think about it. 50% divorce rate, 70% or 80, upwards of 80 women initiate. And do you know what percentage of alimony goes to who? 97% to women. It's financial suicide for most guys and emotional destruction completely. And the children get weaponized. It's complete. It's fucking madness, dude. You get no exclusive access, no guaranteed support, no traditional benefits. What's the point? A man's asking. There's nothing but risk, no reward. Logically, your brain says avoid. That's a bad business deal. But then there's like the pressure reality because she wants a wedding. Society expects you to get married, but the terms are fucking ass. So you're damned if you don't. There's no winning here. You satisfy society, you'll personally lose. You satisfy yourself personally, society makes you lose in their eyes, right? Then the father role is a complete shit show. You must be the involved dad, but somehow be an equal parent. Because she's the primary always. You're secondary. There's no equality there. Your opinion is secondary in the household, but responsibility and authority, those aren't equal. Responsibility is shared. You're responsible, but your authority isn't valid in this household, especially if you come into a household with a single mother. Yeah, that always frustrates guys. So that's where you get into like the dilemma with, you're not my dad, and that's not your kid. Don't talk to my kid that way. You can't set any fucking boundaries, right? Can't be firm with those kids because that's toxic. Can't do anything. That's why dating single mothers is like the biggest trap ever, right? And then the custody reality that's destroyed so many men is 85% of women get custody of the kids. Visitation as a father is like the norm, right? You have to pay, but you don't get to be the parent. The system is completely fucking biased. We know fathers are considered disposable. So why commit in the first place? That's why dudes are pumping and dumping, because you don't fucking have a shot anyways. So yeah, modern relationships offer men all the responsibility of traditional marriage with none of the authority or the security. And this shit extends into, it's not just relationships and marriage, but we probably should get into like the brotherhood crisis, because Male friendships are in ruins, guys. We got to be honest. 15% of men, remember from the last episode, or I can't remember which one, but 15% of men have zero close friends. That's shockingly high. And 40% rely solely on their partners. So that means 40% of men, their only real friend is their woman. So the average friend count is like, I think it was 1.5, something like that. It used to be about 5. We're literally the loneliest generation ever. And it gets worse year after year. There doesn't seem to be a bottom. When you look at the graph, it's just like it's straight down. It doesn't seem to be like bottoming out a little bit and flattening. No, it goes off a cliff. We're going to literally end in like a generation or so where we're having a friend is a luxury, not something that's just standard human experience. Friends will become a luxury, if you can believe that. Real friends. And even then, probably digital friends will be next, like your gamer homies. You'll probably end up playing video games against AI bots. You won't even get matched with real people anymore. That's insane. Even video games will go to shit completely. So, 18 to 25, they have mostly social media friends. The 26 through 35 cohort, they have work acquaintances only. And then 36 to 45, they're basically like family obligations and isolated. And then the 46 plus and older crowd, for them being isolated from everything else, completely common, right? Each stage for them just gets worse and worse. They're accumulating the loneliness. So, and people are saying in the chat, we're already there. We already have games with multiplayer that is just AI bots that fill the lobbies. Jeez, man. This Call of Duty laid off all of its workers for AI and got caught with AI making in-game content and players being bots. Unreal. We're already there then. Wow.
Mr. Solely to 777 sent 1,000 yen. For my GF, I think it's safer to get married after moving in together and live at least for a year or so. Mostly so you can see what she's really like living with and if it's manageable.
Yes, 100%. Agree. Give a trial run first. You find out who someone is when you live with them. 100%. You do it before moving in, you'll be in trouble. Yeah. You need to lose personal space to see what it's like living with somebody close quarters where you cannot escape their presence, because getting little doses of somebody here and there on your time when you're meeting and shit like that, it's fun, it's great. But when you cannot escape their presence, that's when you find out how well you could tolerate a person. And if you do well in a closed environment like that, especially in a small apartment where there's nowhere for you to retreat, then you have a great relationship. Because once you guys move out into, say, bigger places or more spaces or shit like that, it gets easier and easier. Yeah. So if you could survive a small Japanese apartment, if that's where you're in Japan, and you guys do well, oh, you're good, dude. You're in the clear. Yeah. There are so many people I remember during COVID, they were saying like divorces had shot up dramatically because people weren't going to work anymore and they were forced to stay at home. And in staying at home, they discovered they hated each other. So people were using time at work and the busy lives that they had after work and whatever else to pretty much they avoided each other most of the day. So they got each other in like bits and pieces. But finally, when you were forced to spend time with somebody, extended time, they found out they weren't compatible at all. Like, it's kind of insane to think about how the fuck can that even happen? But that's real. Yeah. And going back on the whole brotherhood thing though. So why can't men connect? Well, let's be honest. I don't know where this started and where it came from, but they say like it's gay to have close friends, right? And like having close friends is somehow feminine, and that you must maintain some kind of distance, like not close 2011 Modern Warfare 3. I don't know where that started, but you can't have real close male friends or else society looks at you weird, like, oh, you must be a fruit cup. So competition is like default. Right. Every man, you're supposed to see them as like potential rivals, no brotherhood mentality, no in this together, working together to get ahead, or success breeds resentment because everybody's after your position, or, failure brings too much shame. Like you can't celebrate together. You'll be seen as a loser. And, you can't just be you. It's a mask. It's always on there. And we're poor on time than ever before, actually. So work. If you have a demanding job at work, you almost have time for nothing else. If you have a family that's sort of together, they get the remnant of what you have left. So friends get nothing. You have no energy left, no time available, and there's no priority to friends. It's all into work and what time you have left for probably yourself or family. So like, where do you go, right? And most men are dying of loneliness, but they're surrounded by people they can't connect with. That's what's crazy in this.
Isaac sent $5. With how bad the simp epidemic is, I have half a mind to start drop shipping love dolls. Might as well profit from it.
You'd make a lot of money. You would. That's the state of our society today. And then, I won't go too in depth into this one because we've lost male spaces. Like I said, male clubs were forced to be open. Sports teams, they went co-ed. They used to have male-only teams. Gyms, they're basically toxic these days. There's no escape, right? There's no male-only anything. So where do you go? Like, what are there even cigar lounges left? I don't even know if there are some, if even gentlemen's clubs still exist. They're like dying out practically. So if you tried to make your own male space, you get threats. Legally, Title X gets weaponized. So Title IX, excuse me. And, discrimination lawsuits everywhere, human rights complaints. It's impossible. But female-only gyms exist and that kind of shit. That stuff exists. And what do we replace those? The cigar lounge is now Discord servers. That's not a real brotherhood. Together on video games, we're not really bonding, guys. Group chats, they're not a connection. We're just memeing. We're just sending memes and checking memes, These are basically like a digital placeholder. So the real thing's extinct. So the loneliness gets deeper and deeper. And they've commodified this shit. It's commercialized, dude. You have to pay for a connection today. Brotherhood paid for, package experience, men's retreats in the tens of thousands of dollars, like alpha male classes, They try to sell the authentic male experience now. Everything, they can make money on you. It's all performative. Everything, That's why masculine podcasts are exploding. That's why red pill channels have exploded. This is how, that's the hunger for the connection, the authenticity, something alternative, because they exist.
An XRD sent $5. Problem is 80% non-martial live-ins fail. Probably because of lack of formalized commitment, easy to away from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, where does that leave us with? Well, here's why it feels like nothing works. Yeah. I guess you could say this. For therapy, for example, the issue is a lot of men tend to go to female therapists because most therapists are female and they're batshit insane. Like the therapists are getting therapy. I saw some videos of that happening, right? The training is feminine focused in therapy anyways. So finding a male therapist that's decent is very hard. They're all retiring out. So the male experience is very foreign to therapists in general. They talk about, they have the talk about your feelings model, and you're supposed to process emotions verbally and you got to sit still for an hour. And it's, it just sucks. It drains your wallet for nothing. Helps with nothing. And, they see masculinity as a disorder. That's from the American Psychological Association, right? Competition's unhealthy. Stoicism is a dysfunction. It needs to be treated, guys. So they don't understand your problem. You are the problem. So, the solutions that they'll offer you in therapy is like, well, apparently you just express more emotions. If you just talk about it more, if you just be more vulnerable with us, also check your fucking privilege. Like, maybe you don't see the other side. Shut the fuck up. How much are they charging per hour to put this bullshit into your brain? Complete money drain. And they make things worse. What men actually need is this. Build fucking something, bro, with your hands. Be action oriented. That's how you heal as a man. Fix a problem. Movement is life. Go for a fucking walk. Go do something. Find a purpose. Achievement. Shit like that heals men. Purpose, movement, achievement. Those three things. Try to embody them in your life. Brotherhood is not fucking talk therapy. Share an experience with men. Go do MMA. Roll with men. Struggle doing something together. Hard hikes. Shit like that. Go climbing. Go biking. Go join a group. But we process things a lot better side by side as we're struggling physically. Imagine like men in a ditch, doing something, some hard work, or climbing up a mountain, or, biking up a fucking nasty hill. All that stuff side by side is how we communicate with each other, not verbally, not face to face, but side by side while we're doing a physical task. That's when the funniest jokes come out. That's when the deepest conversations are had, when you're struggling physically with somebody.
An XRD sent $5. But if there are female-only spaces, why can't we fight to get it back? We have a mass amount of men needed it. What is stopping us from unifying?
Legally, it's Title IX, bro. You can't. It's discrimination against women. You have to repeal laws. If you were to open up a male space right now, men only, you would get sued. That's what's stopping you.
Ali sent $4.99. Men in the military can't even trust that their male friends won't bang their wives while being deployed.
Yeah,
Brotherhood is cooked.
it is. That's what happens when you get feminized men all over society. What brotherhood if all men are feminized, right? They treat each other like women do, competition constantly. So, yeah. Unfortunately, there's a self-help delusion too with all this stuff, like the mental masturbation of like your endless podcasts from dude bros telling you how to act. YouTube University is good for teaching you things too. Some of the better like 101 classes that break down advanced topics into digestible formats that can help teach you things. Like that's good. But, it's still part of the mental masturbation if you don't put it into action. What is knowledge without action? Nothing, If you're inspired by somebody but you don't implement change, what's the point? That's just dopamine without achievement, guys. If I put out some sick video motivating you to do something and then you have it for like 30 minutes after the video, and then the moment you hit a roadblock, you're like, oh, okay, I'll just pick up tomorrow. And then tomorrow never happens for you because other things get in the way and you forget. So it's like, boom, dopamine without achievement. You felt good attempting something, thinking about something, and then you didn't put it into action, right? So then you develop like a guru dependency, and that's what we're seeing today. You need the next fix, the newest program, right? Some external validation, right? Nothing's ever enough. You never feel like you've arrived. You're always looking for something. And then you have unfortunately, there's like the perfectionists too that are always paralyzed because they're waiting for the perfect time to plan. They research endless. We have these guys, we had this conversation in the community too, the endless research. I can't start until I've fully researched something, right? The analysis paralysis or the fear of failure gets them, they're comfortable with the dysfunction. That's really what it is. So, most advice fails because it's not a one size fits all solution. You can't just tell dudes like, don't you hate it when people tell you just be confident, bro? When it comes to bitches, just be yourself. Oh, and then when it comes to making more money, just work harder. You're not working hard enough. Like that's the biggest fucking gaslight ever, dude. Hey, bro, I'm struggling with women. Just be yourself. Just be confident. I'm ugly. That's all right, dude. If you're just confident. I'm poor. Just work harder. Buy my program. Work hard. That's tight, dude. I'm going to show you how to work extra, extra hard. And like, I will unlock your bitch slaying skills. Don't worry, kid. For just 3 classes, I will show you to how to be confident. Calm down, bro. Jesus fucking Christ. It's so cringe, right? It's insane. So I don't know. I feel like it's getting worse. That shit's crazy. You can't outwork the rigged system. That's just the reality, right? I mean, you can't be confident when you're getting discriminated on. You can't self-help your way out of a fucked society. That's the issue here. So, life gets in the way, dude. Shit happens. You will fail. The expectations are already unrealistic. Failure is actually built into the system. You're set up for it. And it's meant to be like a cycle of failure, too. It just became self-help. Basically, it became another way to blame men for systemic problems that they didn't create. That's essentially the shit happened. That's how you get the Andrew Tates of the world and why it appeals to so many men, right? Because it's a clear masculine message. It's unapologetic strength. Fuck everybody. My opinion is my opinion. Suck dick if you don't like it. You understand? And, success is visible. Somebody says what they're thinking of. Male excellence is celebrated. He's got a ton of money, ton of bitches, cool life, does what he wants, doesn't worry about money, taking care of his family, kids there. That's like the teenager's dream. No permission needed. You don't have to fucking check in with somebody. You don't have to ask for any consent. All right. It just only fails if you get like cartoonishly extreme with that shit. And that's not typically a problem because it's the other side that's gotten cartoonishly extreme with what a man is supposed to be. Basically, a woman is what they want you to be. And that's why it can never be realized biologically. But unfortunately, the damage is done because young men are the ones that got radicalized. Right? Nuance for them is impossible. They grew up in this system. That's all they know. So their relationships are poisoned before they've ever even begun, unfortunately. It's overcorrection to overcorrection. There's no middle. Extremism, again, it's like the only fucking option for young boys. So you get the advent of the male feminist. You've internalized the self-hate, right? Masculinity, you rejected completely. You're probably a fat, low-T cuck. You love to sit in the corner and watch your woman get dogged on. You're like the Destinies of the world, right? That's essentially what it is. You got to apologize for just existing and you got to cater to women. And yeah, yourself is erased. The soy boy stereotype, that's what we're talking about. Physical weakness. They celebrate that shit. Emotional incontinence. You're constantly fucking emotional bitch and crying and yelling about everything, right? Super reactive to everything. You have no control over your emotions, right? Can't stand up for yourself. You can't speak the truth. Can't be a man. Can't do anything. And this fails because women don't respect that shit. And men don't respect themselves when they're trying to embody that shit either. Biology will rebel against you, right? Either the attraction dies and you give up and become a fuckboy, the depression follows, and then you might like X yourself out, or the identity crisis deepens to the point where you pick one of the extremes. And usually that's the side of the men that are successful, whose lives that you want. So society doesn't offer men a healthy middle ground. That's the issue. And if you manage to like not cope chemically, like you've hit the jackpot, because a lot of dudes get caught in the prescription epidemic today, right? And all the side effects there, like your dick doesn't work, your motivation gets flatlined, right? You're emotionally a zombie. You can't feel bad, can't feel good, can't feel anything. And then you become dependent on these drugs. They're so fucking powerful. And withdrawal feels like death, right? And life becomes unmanageable without your little fucking prescription. You're trapped, dude. You're a pharmaceutical customer for life. Problem never got solved, but your money gets drained forever, right? Then they get you to self-medicate after that if you try to quit the prescription or don't want to get into that at all. Self-medication, like with alcohol. It's the only emotional outlet you have, right? It's a social lubricant that you're definitely encouraged to use, right? We got like functional alcoholics in life today. And then their health is deteriorating. Say goodbye to their fucking livers. And their relationships suffer because of that shit. Then you have the weed smokers that are coping hard as fuck with cannabis, right? Trying to escape from reality. They're not using it as like a painkiller and the medicinal side. They're just fucking trying to stay high because staying sober is worse. That's how you get this, form of like arrested development where you avoid, you don't solve, right? Years of your life get wasted and your entire potential, dude, just goes unrealized. Yeah, sedation is a problem. It really is. So hopefully you don't fall into like the harder stuff and shit, stimulants and opioids and all that other stuff where men are losing their lives over it. So we're medicating men into compliance rather than addressing the real needs. That's what's really fucking sad about all of this. And Cement says, nature always wins. It does, always. And so, that's how you get this underground masculine identity, right? Your digital tribes. You get like this channel, the private community, the other manosphere content, red pill, black pill, the incel forums, all that shit pops up, right? That's how the manosphere just blew up on the scene. It went from pickup artists doing their thing to like red pill exploding. So, the pickup artistry stuff failed to maintain its popularity because it is very limited. And then people were seeking more deeper truths, right? Like a systemic analysis started emerging from society. Not just getting laid, but like understanding the dynamics of men and women, seeing patterns in behavior, patterns in society. And that's where you started having like the Jordan Peterson phenomenon, right? Where he exploded on the scene, or like the Joe Rogan, church podcast bro king, right? Like everybody was listening to Joe Rogan at one point a few years ago. Before he made the switch over to Spotify. It was like everybody was tuning in. So these were the alternative father figures because young men in general, were just hungry for some sort of truth, for some kind of like masculine wisdom, for, what could you say, like unfiltered reality. No more policing, no more tone policing with women, right? And that created a fractured landscape because depending on which rabbit hole you went down, you turned into like the MGTOW monks, you turned into like a black pill nihilist, some turned into passport bros, some were deep in the red, right? Red pill stuff. It just depends where you were mentally. Each have a partial truth, like each are correct in some sense, but it's not the complete answer in any of them, right? And the search will continue. That's why all these places resonate with people. It's like, because we're speaking forbidden truths. The biological differences are real. The male struggle is valid. Traditional wisdom is actually valuable. And then finally, the feeling is like, finally, dude, somebody says it. Somebody says the truth. Finally. No more permission needed to notice these things. I'm not crazy. That's one of the main things people say when I talk to them is like, bro, just hearing you and what you're saying, I'm not crazy. I don't feel crazy anymore. It's like somebody else thinks the way because I can't talk to anybody else. Can't talk to my friends about this. Can't talk to my parents about this, my family. Can't talk to my girl about this kind of shit. It feels like, an in with somebody that's like-minded, right? Somebody who understands like male psychology and like the things that people say make sense. Like, oh shit, I noticed that in my last relationship, or I noticed that in my blah, 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 XYZ. It doesn't matter. Like, yeah, that makes sense. That explains why that happened. Right. And then, people in communities like this offer action oriented approaches. No more fucking talking. We don't want to talk for therapy. We don't give a fuck about the feminized framework. What actually helps men? That's what we care about. So meaning is created. We reintroduce the hero's journey, right? The going on a mission, right? Having a mission in life, a purpose to chase. Competence hierarchies, we've reintroduced. Purpose beyond yourself, right? What role do you want in your life to play? What do you want to be? Who's the character? What's the mission you're pursuing? This underground masculine, I guess if you could call it that, exists because mainstream society offers men nothing but shame. That's why. So that's why we get like a little, I guess you could say like a physical renaissance, where like gym is now seen as church. The iron appeals to man. It's a simple feedback loop. Lift heavy things, get bigger. Lift heavy things, find out how weak you are. It doesn't lie. It doesn't coddle you and fucking caress your balls. Oh, it's okay. We'll come back in next time. You either put in the work or you don't. Effort equals results. It's very simple. It's a mostly male space apart from the whack shit in the last few years with these fucking chicks, but there's hardcore gyms that you could still find. You can't negotiate with gravity, bro. Can't bullshit with barbells. There's truth in the iron, right? And that has a transformative power because your physical change gives you confidence. The discipline in the gym transfers to other aspects of your life. And then you start to form those brotherhoods because it's a shared struggle. You meet other guys, you get some mutual respect. If you go there often enough, depending on what gyms you go to, there's other guys there that are working on. Eventually you help each other spot this, that, or roll with a guy, hit bags, buddy up. And then you build authentic connections that way, right? So it's a beautiful thing. That's why I always recommend and you can see it, the combat sports explosion in society too, like MMA or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the popularity, it's never been higher today, right? And it's what we all love, controlled violence, right? Hierarchy through merit with the belt system, physical problem solving, right? It's all your primal needs are met. Competition is channeled there and aggression gets directed. That's why physical combat sports are so good for men, right? You get the dojo brotherhood. You get respect for the combat, trust, bro, by being vulnerable, by placing yourself in vulnerable positions, right? So, you get your ego destroyed, your humility is built back up, and then you forge connections. You ever been fucking strangled by another dude to put to sleep? It's like an ego shot directly. Like if that was real combat, I could have lost my life. You get humbled quickly, especially when it's like a 120-pound assassin just crawling on your back like a fucking monkey and you weigh more than 60 pounds. And it's like, oh shit, dude, if this was real life, oops, looks like we got a lot of work to do. You learn some life lessons, dude, going into those gyms. Like preparation, dude, it matters. You must be prepared at all times. Technique will beat strength, right? Persistence pays off. Keep showing up. And that's applicable in all life. These are skills that can be transferred to everything that you want to do. Confidence is something that you must earn through the process after being, in a sense, humiliated, but humbled, really. That's why men flock to combat sports, because they offer what society denies you: clear hierarchies, honest feedback, earned respect. That's it, dude. And then you have the more money-oriented dudes that love the entrepreneurial lifestyle. This is why men start businesses today or side hustles, because you got to escape the corporate emasculation. You have no choice. You want to create your own rules. You want to build something meaningful. No fucking dumb HR department, no diversity quotas, straight merit only, right? You're seeking sovereignty over your own life. Financial independence is what everybody wants. Freedom with your own time, not have to punch a fucking ticket every day, right? You want to be location independent, not beholden, not controlled, not compromised in any fucking way. And you want to build a legacy beyond the company that you work for in that fucking cubicle, right? You want something to pass on maybe to your children, right? You want to create some kind of value for society that's visible. We're going to have an impact when the corporate gay speak says impact. You have no impact at a corporation, but you can when you do your own thing. It actually matters. Pride is possible. That's why the side hustle culture exploded. It feels like everybody has a side hustle. Because for one, jobs are not enough. Like one job is not enough anymore, and you need a backup plan because it feels like you get fired at any moment today. So men, you must build an option. Security essentially through diversity of jobs. right? And then you develop your skills, you get to network, you get to do everything. The 5 to 9, and then there's the after 9 to 5. It has to be that way. Your passion projects, they're big, dude. The future building, right? It's exhausting, guys, but it's necessary in this economy, right? That's basically your exit plan. You can consider it that way.
App CD sent $10. I did 9 sets of 8 to 10 rep deadlift from 135 pounds to 225 pounds. My left knee still hurts a lot when I straighten my leg for over a week. What do I do?
You hyperextended. You need to first go low on the weights, figure out how to deadlift properly and not lock your knees the way you do. And then wear a brace as well, because you probably got really weak tendons or ligaments. If we're being honest, your problem is mobility. That's why your knee's fucked up. So you need to do knee mobility exercises to strengthen your knees. And then as you strengthen your knees, cool it on the fucking weights and go light only. Build slowly. So no more 225s for you. You clearly don't have the knee mobility ready yet. So yeah, look into knee mobility workouts first. Build up a strong base for your knees so you don't re-injure yourself again. Yeah. So then, oh shit, let me play these.
Mr. Solely to 777 sent 1,000 yen. My GF don't drink, never been to a club, 0 interest, barely saw movies growing up, 0 Disney, body count of 1 before me, guy cheated, not a boss babe, clings to me. He's a gem. Don't give up, men.
Agreed.
Jose Rodriguez, Dominican Republic emoji, sent $20. Yeah, it's very true. I'm 48 and have no brotherhood, so I decided to do things on my own, and yes, I definitely suffer in silence cause most people around me are like sheep, so I hit the gym and have a personal trainer now.
Good shit. Yeah. Well, what can you say, boys? Yeah, his woman's Japanese. If I'm not mistaken, he lives half in Thailand, half in Japan. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or do you stay fully, are you in Japan right now? I'm pretty sure I know who Soul Leader is. He's in the private community. I won't say his name, but yeah. I'm going to guess. I don't know who else it could possibly be. That story is too similar. Oh, not Thailand? Okay. Maybe it is someone else. Okay. There's another bro in the private community who did half in Japan, half in Thailand, and he met someone else and helped them out get situated in Thailand, one of our other members. But okay. Very sad, but same story though. Puerto Rican descendant. Oh, very cool. Yeah, so we have another guy in the private community. Same shit. Japanese girlfriend, lives half in Japan, half in Thailand. Same exact story. Cooks, cleans, super feminine, no issues. Literally completely different than what he got in America. Couldn't be happier. Says the same thing. Yeah, it was crazy, but you guys have the same exact outcome. What are the odds of that? It's almost as if culture dictates success for a relationship, isn't it? Yeah. Anyways, so I'll read our little closing monologue here, and then this is it. And essentially, as a man, you were born into a world that will hate your nature, fears your strength, and seeks to castrate your spirit. Pretty much every institution, every message, every program is designed to turn you into a compliant, controllable drone. You know, they tell you to be vulnerable while pushing weakness. They'll demand leadership while forbidding your authority. They require your success while shaming achievement. You know, it's insane that they created pretty much a maze with no exit, no winning moves, you know, and a test with like no right answer. But what they don't want you to know is that you don't need their permission to be a man. You don't need their framework or their approval. You don't need any of their constantly changing rules and, you know, contradictory standards. What you need is to reconnect with that eternal masculine principle while adapting to this real modern world reality. That's it. Strength is still strength, guys. Competence, still competence. Leadership is still leadership. That shit never changes, and it will never change. Only the penalties for displaying them have. So forge your identity from the iron, the trials, the tribulations, not from these fucking focus groups and feminist theory. Build your philosophy from what actually works, not what's approved. All right. Create your brotherhood from that shared struggle, not your fucking pronouns, because the path forward isn't found in these extreme reactions. Neither the toxic caricature nor the neutered pet. You know, it's found in a conscious choice, deliberate practice.
Jose Rodriguez, Dominican Republic emoji, sent $5. I'm at the point where I may join the community as well. I travel to the Philippines every 4 months. It's not perfect, but I feel more alive there.
Nice. Yeah. So a lot of men. Also, be physically formidable, boys. Even when you travel overseas, it works in your favor tenfold to look good. Even if you're invisible in the West, if you get a decent body overseas, it's incredible. Strength is always going to be strong no matter where you go. Don't listen to the I like dad bods, beer guts. That shit is fake. All right. Don't listen. And going back to our, closeout, find your mission, guys. Build a tribe of like minded people locally first if you can. If not, maybe online, and then eventually meet in person. That's what we're doing with the community, hopefully. Once we're back in Arizona, I want to set up retreats with the guys in the weekends, plan some shit out, go on hard ass hikes, 20-mile plus, stuff like that. Bonding and building over some, I wouldn't say hard hikes, but maybe hard for some, but still incredible stuff. And so you don't do this stuff because society tells you, but your soul demands it as a man, right? Even though they've destroyed every traditional path to masculine identity, they can't destroy your ability to forge your own, period. So it's not about returning to the past. What we're trying to do is create a future where masculine excellence is expressed. You don't have to apologize about it, right? Where your struggles don't have to be glossed over. Yeah. And where you could find some form of a brotherhood. You don't have to justify it. It's just the norm. Just remember, you guys, you're not broken, you're not toxic, and you're not obsolete, no matter what the fuck they say with their stupid bicycle analogies. You're just in a world, or at least a man in a world that's forgotten what that even means, right? Your job these days is to remember and pass that knowledge on to the next generation of lost boys, because they'll need it even more than you will. We have a binary choice here. You could accept their confusion and live like a half life of perpetual apology, or you could forge your own path and live like the man you're meant to be. You have to choose. You can't be stuck in the middle, right? Your future quite literally depends on this choice. Choose the path of clarity. The other path offers you weakness, and shame. That's it. That's your identity that you're trying to build, your rules, your life. That's all. Be the very thing they fear, the strong man. Don't become the thing that they want you to be, weak. And you do that in the presence of other men. This is why we form communities. This is why we look for them, essentially. Anyways, that ends our identity crisis. Hopefully you guys like it. Ones if you did in the chat for the modern male identity crisis. It was a long one. I wasn't expecting it to go this long. Jeez.